How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? How often have you felt drained, overcommitted, or resentful because you just couldn't express what you really needed? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Today, we're talking about something many of us struggle with but can rarely name out loud: boundaries. And here's the twist: in this episode, like every other episode, I've asked ChatGPT to help me understand what are boundaries and how can it help me get better at setting them. So, welcome to another episode of Getting Better Together. My name is Talika, and in this episode, we explore the power of boundaries through ChatGPT. So, what are boundaries really, and why does this matter? So, boundaries are these invisible lines that really protect us, protect our time, our energy, and our emotional well-being. They're not walls to shut people out. They're doors with clear signs that say, here's what works for me, and here's what doesn't. But why is setting boundaries so hard? Why do we feel this guilt of saying no? And how can AI like ChatGPT actually help with something that personal? So I asked ChatGPT, why are boundaries so important? Okay, so here we go. Why are boundaries so important? All right. Yeah. So what ChatGPT has told me is that boundaries are essential because they define what is acceptable and what is not in your personal life, in your work, and in your emotional world. They protect your sense of self. They help you communicate your needs clearly. They allow relationships to build on respect and not obligation. That's a very beautiful insight. Relationships built on respect and not obligation. And that is something all of us crave so much, right? Sometimes we feel like we're just deeply obligated in a relationship because we just can't say no, and then we keep saying yes, and we feel like that we are not respected, or the other person who we keep saying yes to, we do not respect them because we just don't have set boundaries, we don't have clear boundaries, and then we keep on pushing our limits until it completely exhausts us and completely drains us out. So that is why in today's episode we are learning how can we just get better at setting one of those boundaries and not drain ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically. You know what's fascinating with AI like ChatGPT is that it is trained on thousands of conversations, books, research papers, and therapies, right? Therapy tools is what I meant. And it understands the psychology behind why we struggle to set limits and why we need them so badly. When I asked ChatGPT to define healthy boundaries, here's what it told me. Healthy boundaries are clear guidelines that you need to set for yourself to protect your values, time, and emotional health. They are rooted in self awareness, knowing what truly matters to you and what you need to feel respected and safe. Boundaries are not something that are used to control others. They're about taking responsibility of how you allow others to treat you. That is such an important and powerful message, right? Because this is something which we really want to have control over how people are treating us, but then we are not able to do anything about it because of the way we are brought up or conditioned, right? But this is where we change that. This is where we decide and take a step together towards setting healthy boundaries. Okay, so I want to learn today that how can ChatGPT actually help me to build those boundaries without offending anybody, without offending my own self, without feeling bad about saying no to someone. So here we go. How do we actually do this? How do we set healthy boundaries? So I have asked ChatGPT that how do we actually do this? How do we stop saying yes out of guilt and start saying no from a place of self-respect? One of the best ways I have found is to use ChatGPT as a rehearsal partner. It helps me find better words for difficult conversations. For example, saying no politely, right? Let's say someone has asked you that at work, let's say you're at work, right? And someone's like, you know what? Can you help me with this project? And this is someone who keeps coming to you for help all the time, and then you're already drained with work all the time. It could be a boss, it could be a colleague, it could be a very close friend also, right? And they just have a habit of taking help from you, giving you certain data to extract, or maybe certain reports to make, or do some churning of information, right? But you are so exhausted, you are so drained of your own work, and how do you say no? I'm completely caught up without actually offending them. So here we go. The response I got is, I'm really flattered you thought of me for this project, but I'm currently at capacity and wouldn't be able to give the attention it deserves. A lot of you may feel that is a very diplomatic way of saying no. I would agree. I also think that it is. But then, if a little diplomacy is not hurting anybody, then what's the harm, right? You can always go to ChatGPT and say that, you know what, I want to say no to this project. This is what they're telling me to do. How do you help me? Please help me frame that. and it can give you a very beautiful response of how you can actually tackle that situation very politely without really offending anybody. So let's move on to another example of setting limits, right? Or let's say someone wants to, let's say someone at your work, or someone, let's say you're on a holiday, okay, or and your boss calls you, or some colleague calls you and stuff, right? And while you're always available to cater to important projects, but this is a much needed holiday, right? And you know that the thing they're calling you for is not very important. It may be important on their to-do list, but you know that in a retrospect, it's not something that will make or break a deal, right? But you still are someone who would just like open their laptops or get on Teams or get on Meets and just do that call, or just like be there to do a certain amount of work, even on vacation, or even when we are with family, or even when there is something which is more important in your life to cater to. So how do you tell them that no, I am not available right now, without feeling that if you say no, you might lose your job, or if you say that you can't do this, it will actually affect your relationship with them? I would love to catch up, but I'm available for a 20-minute call next week. Let me know if that works for you. And if next week is very vague, you can just say, you know what, I would love to catch up, but it's a Friday. It's a Friday evening. I'm available for a 20-minute call on Monday morning. Let me know if that works for you. This is how you take control of yourself. You take control of this whole situation and you tell them that this is when I am available. This is when I will be able to help you. And you need to make time out for me here. You need to work out on my schedule. I'm not here to change my schedules for you all the time. It's okay to do it once, it's okay to do it twice. But if you're someone who's doing it repeatedly again and again, this is where you need to step back and rethink that, do I need to redefine my boundaries? Do I need to set up better and healthier boundaries? I have even asked ChatGPT to help me practice how to respond even when someone pushes back, because that's where the real challenge often lies, right? Because even if you tell this that, you know what, I'm available for a call next week, or you know what, I'm available for a call on Monday, they'll be like, no, but it's just a 10-minute call, it's so important, super boss is involved in this, so you know it's a big deal, and please be available for 5 minutes. It challenges your boundaries. When someone is taking your space, you need to stay calm and repeat your position clearly. For example, you say, I understand this is important for you, but I'm not available beyond what I've already committed right now. You reinforce your limits without apologizing for your needs, right? You take a step very clearly and you say that, you know what, maybe I may completely understand that this is very important for you, but I'm in a situation which is equally important for me, and I cannot just stop doing this and get to you. So I'm already pre committed and I cannot really go beyond this. And that's when you reinstate your position clearly. You tell them that, you know what, this is what is important to me, and this is how you need to respect my time, my space, my energy. So I know that it may not be very easy for a lot of us who are people pleasers to say such things, right? And without getting that bell in your head that, you know what, if I say something like this, it may offend the other person, or you know what, if I say this, then what if I get fired, or what if I get rejected, or what if they don't come to me for important tasks anymore, and then I may not be as important in the organization. You know what? Sometimes you do things because you need to do them, and sometimes you do things because you just couldn't say no. Even if you know that if you would have not done this, it would have not affected your position or your situation in any way. But just because we are in a habit of saying yes and yes all the time and being available all the time, irrespective, sometimes we just end up doing things. And that really starts affecting us. That is really where we start feeling drained. We start not enjoying our jobs or our relationships or our friendships, right? So, boundaries, when we put them logically and respectfully, it also strengthens our bond with our work, with our friends, with our partners, right? Because you feel better and you do not feel exhausted and drained. And it's very important for you to, it's very important how you feel about that situation, your job, and your relationships to actually get better, to actually make the best out of it, right? Because if you're constantly feeling drained in this, and if you're constantly feeling exhausted, it's not doing you any good. And you're in your head that, my God, I feel so drained all the time. I feel so exhausted. Maybe this is not working out. Maybe this is not the space for me. But it may be the space for you. It's just that you're overly available, or you're just not taking your time, or you're just not setting healthy boundaries. Rethink each time you're saying yes when you didn't want to. That, is it really, really going to affect your things so much? Is that call really important to take? Is that is it really important to go to that nightclub when you didn't want to? Is it really important to go on that date when you didn't feel like? So just be very truthful to your own self, and that's when you will understand where to keep these boundaries and where to not keep these boundaries. I want to talk about that why boundaries make life better. Here's the thing about boundaries. They're not selfish, they're necessary. When you set clear limits, you create space for the things that matter to you. Healthier relationships, better focus, less resentment, more peace. Some people have shared this with ChatGPT, and I found this in the research while I was asking questions to ChatGPT, that how can ChatGPT help them rehearse boundary settings and give them confidence to speak up at work? How can they say no to draining social obligations and stand up for their own well being? And you can do that too. You can use AI, you can use ChatGPT to find better ways to deal with such situations. You're not alone here. You were until a certain point of time when you had no one to help you navigate through these situations. But now you have ChatGPT on your phone, you have Gemini on your phone, and you can just put a prompt saying, you know what, this is what I'm feeling, and this is what my situation is. What do you think? And then, based on what it says and based on what is your truth, you decide and you take a call and you reframe the way you want to say it and you get out of that situation. Boundaries are not building walls. They're about drawing lines where respect begins. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to figure it out alone. You have tools like ChatGPT, which can help you find words, rehearse the hard conversations, and remind you that your needs are valid. So here's my question to you. What is that one boundary that you have struggled to set? And how would it feel to finally stand by it? Share your thoughts with me in the comment, and let's learn from each other. Let's learn to get better together. I will see you in the next video where we find more ways to get better. Until then, all the love to you.